And Jason Zucker, another goal. A nice little knuckle puck there in honor of baseball being, I don't know, like 75 days away. I don't know. Knuckle puck throws in the old softy, and that's 2 goals in 2 games for Jason Zucker. And can we just talk about Zucker for 1 minute? Because I saw Rob Rossi put out an article. I saw Josh Yohe's tweet first, and Josh Yohe, of course, of The Athletic, said on Twitter, maybe he makes more money currently than you'd like, but Jason Zucker deserves a contract offer from the Penguins before he becomes a UFA. Perfect fit for the system, fast, physical, and works his ass off. And honestly, I could not agree more with what Yohe said. And then, of course, if you want more elaboration from the Athletic staff, like I mentioned, Rob Rossi has a nice article out on it. And when you look at the way Jason Zucker has played this year, because I've always tried to hold out for Jason Zucker. I feel like he's struggled with injuries the past 2 seasons. He looked really good in that first little sample size when he came over, but this is what we expected of Jason Zucker when he was traded for Kalen Addison and at first, and Alex Galchenyuk. But this is what was expected from Jason Zucker. I think the Penguins, I agree, should look into re-signing him. I know a lot of people are saying, listen, this team is old enough, and we are locked into basically everyone else on the top 6. Maybe you try getting some new blood up there, but why would you? In my opinion, he has been the most consistent winger for the Pittsburgh Penguins this season. And that's saying a lot considering the inconsistencies that he has had over his tenure here in Pittsburgh, because he always brings that level of play. He's almost never invisible on the ice for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And now he's on a 20-goal pace, which is exactly what the Pittsburgh Penguins acquired him to do. Be a 20 to 25 goal scorer, be physical, force the issue on the forecheck, and turn things into the direction of the Pittsburgh Penguins every single time he's out there on the ice. He's done that so far this season alongside of Evgeny Malkin.
Yeah, no, he totally has. There is a fair conversation, a question to be had about him, signing a new deal and coming back next season, even at his age. And I think it's always a fair conversation to have because that's when the money starts talking and you start to discuss term, price tag, what does that all look like. But for now, I think, he's totally earning himself a new contract of sorts with this team because it's exactly what we want now. The guy doesn't take a shift off. He's going 1,000 miles a minute every time. And, after his last 2 seasons, it's finally starting to find the back. And he's finally starting to find the back of the net again.
Yeah.
He's starting to look much better. He's, whenever the second power play unit's going, he's usually part of it. And he's got good drive. We saw it in the playoffs last year. We know the guy doesn't quit. And now we're seeing it fully healthy. We're seeing it kind of come through for him. Contract discussions are something to have later, but I think for now, we can all agree that he does deserve something here.
And looking at that contract, right now he's in the final year of a deal that pays him $5.5 million for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't think you re-sign him to that. If you're going to re-sign him, it's going to have to be similar to what we saw from Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang, whereas, you're taking less money, but you're staying with this group. It seems like Jason Zucker is a locker room guy. It seems like Jason Zucker loves to play in Pittsburgh. But again, that's what it seems like from the outside. You never know truly, but it seems like he's a real big fixture for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I enjoy watching him play hockey for one. I think he's one of the more physical players on the Penguins, as we've mentioned, which sometimes I'd like to see that a little bit. We saw it on Tuesday where he absolutely lit up Connor Garland. I almost said Darius Garland. That's incorrect. But Connor Garland, he just completely blew him up in the neutral zone, was easily the Subway sandwich of the game, which is what I will always call it. But no, looking at what that contract could look like, I don't want to see them sign a 31-year-old to a 5-year deal again. We saw that all last offseason where the 30-plus-year-olds aren't getting veteran contracts. They're getting actual longer contracts, but that might be what he's looking for. I mean, depending on what he wants, does he want to win a Stanley Cup or does he want to cash out on a really good season late in his career? Because he might be looking for that one last big Brian Rust contract where it's 5 years, keeps me in the same spot for a while, and kind of winds my career down. Or would he be willing to take a 2-year deal? Because I think that would be a perfect bridge there for Zucker, which would line him right up with Sidney Crosby's remainder of his current contract.
That would be a good little deal. We just know contract talks are always hard, especially whenever they happen in the offseason. They're always a little more bloated. It's rare that you see a free agent signing go for 2 years. I mean, they usually have to already be older, so that one will depend. But one thing I'll say to it is don't make sure, if possible, if at all possible, make sure there's not a clause strapped to it. I mean, everyone and their mother's getting no trade, no move, modifieds these days. It's hard to roll through a cap friendly, see a player that might be an option and go, oh, look, there's an open trade. Never mind. There's a trade clause attached to it, so it becomes a little more difficult.
Yeah.
If at all possible, that's what I'm saying. Try and get something that's a little easier to move if you need to because of the hard miles he's putting on, the age that he's going to be at, and possibly the price, because you just don't know right now what he's looking for.
Yeah.
And if you need to dump it off, you got to dump it off. So, yeah, I think 2 years sounds perfect, but again, that's rare. Those are rare.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. And we'll finish on this, and then we'll cut to our next segment where we talk about potential return of a Pittsburgh Penguins defenseman, which would be huge for the lineup. But let me finish with this, Horwat. If the Pittsburgh Penguins announced that Jason Zucker had been signed for 2 years, $3.75 million with a full no-move clause, would you be okay with that?
See, you sweetened it by saying it's 2 years at $3.75. It's a little better.
You know why I say that, right? It's the contract Jeff Carter signed last season.
Difference is Jeff Carter's 37.
Yeah, he's 37, but also you also have to throw and he plays center, where Jason Zucker doesn't. But also Jason Zucker produces more as a top 6 winger. I would take, if Jason Zucker signed to the Jeff Carter contract, I would take it. The only problem is Jeff Carter is currently signed to that contract and doesn't deserve it, right?
Yeah, and because it's Jeff Carter, and Brian Hextall, there just seems to be something there. Everyone keeps talking about a trade for Jeff Carter. That's not happening.
No, I mean, they're not. No. I was trying to think of like something else to say to kind of like combat that. There's nothing to combat that. There's probably not one happening.
Yeah, ever since we traded for him, there was talks of he's not going anywhere. He's going to retire here, or if we fire Hextall early, or wherever Hextall goes, because Jeff Carter didn't want to get traded out of LA. He got traded out of LA because his buddy Brian Hextall took over the front office of the Penguins.
Ron,
and
are you purposely doing that?
Oh, shoot.
I was about to say that's like a morphed Pittsburgh Penguins front office Brian Burke, Ron Hextall combination.
But then I remember Brian Hextall's also a real person.
Yeah.
Yes, Ron Hextall. Now I need to double check my last 3 days. Anyway. Yes, Hextall in the front. That's his buddy Ron Hextall in the front office. And not only did he, because you have to remember all of the things that have happened with Hextall and the Penguins, Hextall, Carter, and the Penguins ever since. He was protected from the draft lottery, from the expansion draft.
Yeah.
Given a 2-year deal with a full no move, and pretty much guaranteed he'd retire here. And I think the protection's the big one that we're all forgetting about happened. Yeah, he's not going anywhere. Because I guarantee if Hextall didn't give him the promise of staying there, because Carter didn't want to move, he said he would rather retire than get traded again. Got traded again, he's still playing. Hextall gave him all kinds of promises that he has to hold to.
Yeah,
we're locked in with Jeff Carter, guys. Get used to it. At least we're looking to experiment with him on the wing. That's a good sign. That's a good start. We can get a new 3C somewhere. But again, those are talks for down the line. If to anyone saying Jeff Carter's getting traded, no, he's not. No, he is not.
It would be a surprise to most if Jeff Carter was traded from the Pittsburgh Penguins this season.